The year now, as we know it on our planet, is 2025. There are now 8.1 billion people on Earth and growing. If you want good friends in your life, then be a good friend to good people more. If you keep telling yourself that you're faking it, then you're not going to make it. Whatever you want more of, be that more. You're not a human faking or a human wanting. You're a human being. Your power comes from your decision to release it, because your power is within you. So decide to release it. That's all you have to do, is just decide to release it. Whatever you want, decide to release it. Real Magic, reading number 7. Continuing with 14 keys for creating a miracle mindset. 2, italicized. Create a real magic zone in your mind. Create a real magic zone in your mind. Once you begin to suspend your disbelief and skepticism, you can begin setting your mind on miracle working. Make this a very private part of your life. Reserve a small piece of your consciousness exclusively for the purpose of testing yourself in this area. Wayne Dyer is the author. Wayne Dyer is saying, I have been able to manifest what constitute miracles for myself by having this very private zone. It was while taking a shower and quietly meditating that I considered being completely alcohol-free. Drinking wasn't a major problem, but it was something I did each day. Only a few beers after running, but still something I intuitively felt was not in my best interest. I asked myself, or my guide, Icus, quote, can I give up alcohol beginning January 1st of next year? A simple, pondering question in my mind. The answer was crystal clear. Quote, just don't drink today and ask again tomorrow. Just today, now. You don't have to look any further. My private magic zone is reserved for questions like this alcohol-free query about what direction to take in my life. It never fails me. I recommend that you reserve your own invisible and formless zone in your mind. Treat it as your corner of freedom. Retreat there often to ask for the loving assistance and guidance that is there for you. And know that you're never alone. This guidance is always available to you, so you're never alone. I added that last part. This is all in capital letters. Suggestion for implementing this mindset. Italicized. Affirm to yourself out loud each day that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and that in this spiritual realm there are no limitations. That's the end of the italics. Affirm aloud that the universal intelligence that flows through all form in the universe flows through you, and that the universal law that has permitted any miracle to occur at any time in the history of this planet has not been rescinded. It's still operating and working today and is available to you. This affirmation will help you open yourself up to tapping into the universal forces rather than continue being a skeptic and never allowing them to work in your life. Affirm it first and then begin to act on that affirmation. 3. Italicized. Affirm yourself as a no-limit person. Affirm yourself as a no-limit person. When you have developed this real magic zone in your mind and trust that you can go there at will, begin to affirm to yourself privately that there are literally no limits to the powers that you possess. A great rule of thumb is this: if you can conceive it in your mind, then it can be brought into the physical world. Wayne Dyer saying, at one time I believed I could not hit a backhand shot in tennis. And as long as I believed it, I saw that result. Today, as this book was published in the year 1992, and Wayne Dyer is no longer alive, today it's my steadiest shot. I changed my belief and my form followed that belief. Believe me, when I hit a winning backhand shot in a tennis match, for me, that is a miracle. For you, the belief in any limitation, and I emphasize, italicized, any, is a strike against you in your desire to experience real magic. The point is that you and only you have the ability to create magic in your mind. The choice is always with you. It has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with believing in yourself as a part of the divine force that suffuses all form in the universe. As a child, you most likely were on friendly terms with the invisible magic within you. You created what amounted to fantasies, that you would crawl, you would walk, you would climb a tree, you would swim. No matter how difficult that may have seemed, you knew you would do it, and it started in your mind. Invisible thoughts followed by whatever was necessary in the material world. You would learn to ride that bike, even if you did wobble all over the place and fall down repeatedly. In your mind, there were no limitations. All of your accomplishments began with a belief. You weren't physically different the moment you let go of the side of the dock and swam by yourself. Your physical self was precisely the same as a, quote, swimmer, as it was as a, quote, non-swimmer. The difference was belief. The same was true for you as a walker and a non-walker, a climber and a non-climber. You didn't stop and say, quote, nope, I'll never be able to stand up. I'll just sit here forever. I guess I failed to inherit the necessary standing genes, end quote. There was no room in your mind for doubt about your own greatness in those areas. You conceived the impossible idea first in your mind, and then you acted upon it. Somewhere along the way, you began to doubt your ability to create magic for yourself. Never doubt that being able to walk from the perspective of a crawler is truly a miracle. You lost the ability to extend that belief to new and more, quote, impossible miracles. You began to buy into the misbeliefs of those around you who were, quote, many limits people who said, quote, you must learn your limitations, or, quote, you can't do that, or, quote, you are just like your father and he couldn't do those things either. The list was endless, and so too became the limitations. To recapture that childhood magic and become your own miracle worker, you will have to change the thoughts that created your world of limits and boundaries. That takes place in your mind first. And since thoughts originate with you, you have the ability to create your own image of what your life is going to be from now on. Why not include the presence of real magic in your life as well? All capital letters here. Suggestion for implementing this mindset. Italicized. Make a list of those self-perceived limits that you have convinced yourself are true for you. End italics. Then examine each one in light of how others have transcended them. Once you realize you have the inner power to go beyond those self-definitions, you will be on your way to creating the real magic I write about throughout this book. 4, italicized. Develop a new mindset toward the concept of intuition. You must become comfortable with the idea that strong, quote, inner pleadings and, quote, sudden hunches are truly inner voices offering you guidance. As I said in chapter 2, think of your intuitive self as God talking privately to you. Just as you talk privately to God and call it prayer, a return call is not that far-fetched, particularly if you believe that there is some universal intelligence out there that you are addressing. Remember, it is not, italicized, what you call this universal intelligence that matters. I'll use, italicized, God here. But if you want to use something else, do. It's not the label that matters. What's important is knowing that the intelligence is there and that it's a part of you and all life. Become comfortable with your intuitive voices and hear them as loving guides from the non-physical, spiritual world. Wayne Dyer says, my own personal formula is this: if I feel it, it is real. Because it is real, I refuse to ignore it. Here are 2 examples. On a vacation trip to Panama City, Florida, my wife was driving the car while my daughter, Tracy, and her cousin were asleep in the back seat. I was napping after 6 hours of driving. Suddenly, an overwhelming insistence made me sit up, and I could see that the car in front of us was about to have a head-on collision with the car in front of it. My wife could not see over the car ahead of us and was unaware of what we were heading for when the car in front of ours swerved toward the gravel alongside the road to avoid the collision. At the same instant that car swerved, I grabbed the wheel of our car and moved us onto the gravel, and the errant driver suddenly became alert. Another horrible head-on crash was avoided. What was that intuitive feeling that righted me at that instant? You call it what you want. I know it as God speaking to me. I am convinced that God, in some incomprehensible way, nudged me awake that summer day in the 1970s. Why? I'm inclined to believe that I still had much to accomplish here. My yet-to-be-born children, my writing, and all of my life activities since that time were my reason for continuing. How can we argue with the perfection of the universe? Close calls are just that. And when it's our turn, nothing will stop that either. Our friend Larry, who helped decorate our home several years back, told us how he was once approaching a green light at 45 miles per hour when suddenly a strong inner voice implored him to slam on his brakes for no apparent reason. As he obeyed his intuition, his car stopped inches short of a car speeding through a red light. I am absolutely certain that you too have numerous stories of times that an inner voice prompted you to behave in what seemed an irrational way and turned out instead to be life-saving. It happens to everyone. Anything that happens to everyone cannot be attributed only to coincidence or simple luck. There must be more to it than that. Most of us get these intuitive signals on a regular basis. Know in your invisible mind that hunches are not accidents. Respond in ways that allow you to benefit from the guidance. You are being guided. As you learn to trust these guides, you will begin to recognize the lessons offered. And even if they are not immediately discernible, miracle making and real magic are unavailable to many of us in the Western world, largely because we are taught by those who have no faith in their own intuition. We are presented a life curriculum that places almost all of the emphasis on logical, rational thinking and problem solving. Our schools focus on the acquisition of knowledge, while virtually ignoring the feeling aspects of students' lives. Intuition, the how I feel part of life, is treated as infantile and inferior and unworthy of attention. In fact, your intuition, that fuzzy inner voice that you hear so often, is really as much a part of your life as is your ability to solve quadratic equations, read a poem, or eliminate your bodily wastes. It's there. It is real. Pay attention. For only when you transcend the belief that cognitive knowledge is superior to intuition and feelings will real magic become a way of life for you. Suggestion for implementing this mindset, italicized. Practice listening to and following your intuition every day. Have conversations with yourself affirming the power of your invisible hunches. Try following one of those hunches in a new way just once today. Forget about the outcome and remind yourself that by listening to those intuitive proddings, you overcome an inner mental inclination to ignore them. Beginning to be attentive is a big step toward understanding the vocabulary of those intuitive thoughts. All of your thoughts originate in that loving, intuitive guidance that you are always receiving. Begin to fine-tune your intuitive antenna so that you know when to pay attention. You can only get good at receiving those intuitive signals when you tune in consciously. 5. Italicized. Discover the secret that sits in the center and knows. Discover the secret that sits in the center and knows. Become familiar and comfortable with the notion that nothingness has something to offer you on your path to real magic. Ponder Robert Frost's tantalizing words that inspired this idea. Quote, "We dance round in a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows." End quote. What does Robert Frost mean by this secret in the center? When you have the answer to this question, you will have unlatched the most difficult door blocking your entrance to real magic. Consider that it's the space between the notes that makes the music. Music, sound and form, is not a note or even a series of notes. What is required in order to have music is silent, empty spaces between the notes. A note without space is one long sound. Music comes from the silence between the notes. Nothingness? Yes. And also absolutely necessary in order to create sound in the world of form. No nothingness, no music. Consider that it's the space within the vase that allows a vase to be a vase. The vase is not simply clay or crystal or whatever material is used. What you must have in order to have a vase is silent, empty, invisible space surrounded by material. Take a hammer to the vase and you still have all of the material, but no vase. You absolutely must have the nothingness of silent, empty, invisible space in order to have a vase. No nothingness, no vase. Consider that a room is not a room without silent, empty space within, surrounded by the shape of material form. The room is not the mortar, wood, or beams that make up the material part of the room. Put it all in a heap and you have no room. You must have that silent, empty, invisible space surrounded by all that form in order to have a room. No nothingness, no room. The silent, empty, invisible space that is within, italicized, all form is called the Tao, spelled T-A-O, spelled with a T and pronounced with a D. Tao. It's written that the Tao that can be described is not the Tao. It's in the first verse. The Tao that can be named is not the Tao. It is beyond description, beyond language, beyond symbols. Paradoxically, it's a part of everything. Shen Sui said it this way, quote, "Seeing into nothingness, that is the true seeing, the eternal seeing," end quote. The vase, the room, the music, all make sense to us as we attempt to understand nothingness with our rational mind. Without the empty space, they simply cannot exist. And so is this true for all things made of matter. They must have the silent nothingness in order to exist. Quote, "Therefore, just as we take advantage of what is, we should recognize the usefulness of what is not," said Lao Tzu. Just as we take advantage of what is, we want to recognize the usefulness of what is not. You too are material form, skin, bones, blood, gristle, surrounding the invisible silent emptiness that is also you. Without that nothingness inside, there can be no you. No nothingness, no you. Every cell of your body is composed of particles circling a void of nothingness. Every molecule is similarly fashioned of particles circling nothingness. It's the very story of life. When life leaves your body, it will not weigh any less. Therefore, your very life, your very existence is weightless and invisible. Nothingness. The secret that sits in the center and knows is the emptiness that is externally silent yet always there. And it's also out of that secret in the center that you will be able to create miracles for yourself. As so often is true, the poets are in touch with these non-material concepts. Here is Wordsworth on this subject. Insert. And I have felt a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. I would say people, all people were originally called man. And now in 2025, you want to say people. Suggestion for implementing this mindset. Italicized. Remind yourself that the world of form surrounds invisible emptiness. The world of form surrounds invisible emptiness. Remind yourself you are form surrounding the invisible life energy. Keep this in mind and make every effort to discover, quote, the secret that sits in the center and knows. Since it's invisible, you need to go there mentally. Ask yourself, why am I here? Who am I? Your deeply sought answers will astound you. Spend time in that inner space, befriending the invisible director that guides your life. Trust it today. Allow it to function in the loving way that it wants to. Go with what it directs you to do, trusting and surrendering, and you will discover you can rely on the secret that sits in the center and knows. Trusting and surrendering. Discover that you can rely on the secret that sits in the center and knows. Make contact with that inner director often, and don't be embarrassed about it. The more you trust that your life is on purpose and that you will not be misguided, the more you will commune in the peaceful, harmonious world of real magic. 6, italicized. Learn to learn through knowing and trusting rather than doubting and fearing. Learn through knowing and trusting. There are two primary ways of acquiring new understanding. You can choose either path of fear and doubt or the path of trusting and knowing. You can choose either the path of fear and doubt or the path of trusting and knowing. When you choose the latter path, you truly open yourself to your magical potential. Much of your learning has likely involved questioning your ability to gain a particular skill. At one time, you were full of doubt about most of the things that you know to be true today. For me, says Wayne Dyer, at one time in my life, I was doubtful about my ability to speak to an audience extemporaneously for several minutes, let alone several hours. My doubt led to fear and all sorts of behaviors dedicated to overcoming the fear. Learning through the process of fear and doubt was a long, painful experience, whether it was for a school group or business meeting. I would literally make myself sick whenever I had to get up in front of an audience. Learning to speak to an audience through the path of knowing and trusting was a much more rewarding experience. I began to see myself as capable of delivering a speech, knowing within that I could do it, and trusting that I would be taken care of if I abandoned my doubts. I learned that an audience would not mind if I made a few errors or got temporarily lost, provided I was speaking from my heart and conveyed a sense of excitement about my topic. The day I received the Golden Gavel Award from Toastmasters International for Outstanding Speaker of the Year, I knew that the shift from fear and doubt to knowing and trusting had led to a true miracle for me. You can look at much of your own experiences in a similar way. You have been taught to doubt in a culture that stresses, you can't, it's wrong, you're too little, too big, too young, too old, a girl, a boy, you don't have the right background, credentials, training, experience. Out of doubt came a fear of your greatness, a fear of disapproval, failure, intimacy, and even success. Doubt and fear do provide you with learning experiences. The negative payoffs are obvious. But the negative payoffs are obvious. It's easy to see that this is not the path to becoming a happy, fulfilled, fully functioning person. If you want to become acquainted with real magic, fear and doubt as your primary method for learning must be replaced with trust and a strong reliance on internal knowing. In order to shift from fear and doubt to trust and knowing, you must develop a different mindset. Your new thinking might go something like this. Insert. I am going to learn what I have to learn regardless. So instead of taking the limiting path of fear and doubt, I am going to work at learning my life lessons by trusting and knowing. I'll trust in my own unique ability to create in my mind anything that I choose. It's my mind, and these are my thoughts. And I can choose doubt or I can choose trust. I am selecting trust. I can either doubt that I am capable of performing miracles or I can trust in my ability to do so. I will act upon whichever I choose. I believe that the saying, quote, as you think, so shall you be, is an accurate description of the human condition. As you think, so shall you be. Wayne Dyer says, when my daughter Serena was 5 years old, we encouraged her to utilize this type of thinking when she wanted to learn how to ride a two-wheeler bicycle. For 8 months, she had avoided having the training wheels removed, saying that she just wasn't ready. Now, she was ready, and she practiced trusting and knowing for 3 days before she even got on the two-wheeler. She practiced out loud her personal affirmations. Quote, I see myself riding a bicycle. I can ride a two-wheeler. I have the ability to balance myself. I trust myself as a person who can learn anything, including how to ride a bike, end quote. I just want to say here off the book that I think training wheels on a bike are a bad idea. I think if your kid wants to ride a bike, give them a bike and say, here, ride the bike. Don't put on training wheels. That's just, don't just forget about the training wheels. That's teaching them that you need to have a clutch. You need to have a crutch. The training wheels is teaching them that you need to have a crutch to learn. No, you jump right in. That's what I say. Back to the book. When it was time to get on the bike, she was so pumped up to do it that fear was impossible. I've rarely seen such confidence and determination in anyone undertaking a new task. Her mindset created her miracle. She was literally riding by herself within a matter of minutes. A few falls, some shaky beginnings. But off she went down the sidewalk, all by herself, proudly exclaiming aloud, "I can ride a two-wheeler! I can ride a two-wheeler!" After hitting a sprinkler head and tumbling onto the grass, she changed her mind for a split second, lying on the ground muttering, "I can't ride a two-wheeler." But her positive affirmations and her inner trust in knowing immediately won over her temporary doubt. And she jumped up, balanced herself, asked me for another fast push, and was soon shouting, "I can do it!" Serena's mindset created her miracle. And don't doubt for a second that this was a miracle for her. You definitely want to give him a helmet, though. Alright, I say no training wheels and yes on the helmet. And then just stand beside them, walk them, and then let go. And when they start shaking it, grab it back on again. And say, all right, this time, I'm not going to grab back on. You're either going to keep going or you're going to fall. These are the brakes. When you want to stop, use the brakes and come to a stop. And hold on tight. Ready? Go. And just do it in an area where there's no big hills until they get it figured out. That's what I say. All right. You got that there, squeaky car? When are you gonna fix that fan belt? It's loose. Tighten your fan belt. Hello. All right, where was I here? She hit a sprinkler head and fell. There it goes. No, whatever. Serena's mindset created her miracle. And don't doubt for a second that this wasn't a miracle for her. When her time came and she felt ready, it was what she worked out in her mind in the way of trust and inner knowing that allowed her to go into the material world and bring about her miracle. The miracle started in her formless, dimensionless mind and was played out in the physical world as a result of her inner trust and knowing. Whatever it is that constitutes your miracles, a shift to an attitude of trusting and knowing is mandatory. Keep in mind as you shift to this new consciousness that behind fear is powerlessness. That which you fear, you are fighting, and fighting always weakens you. Fear makes you impotent and makes higher levels inaccessible. But behind trust is empowerment and love. No judgment, no anger, no hatred, no fear, and no need to fight. Love empowers you to higher levels. It's your choice always, and the choice begins in that amorphous inner world of the mind. Suggestions for implementing this mindset. Italicized. For a few moments in your encounters with strangers today, shift to knowing and trusting as your way of interacting. Shift to knowing and trusting as your way of interacting. Let go of doubt and treat that clerk or telephone contact with trust and confidence. Just try it. Say to yourself, I trust this person. I will not doubt them. And I know that things will work out in a positive way. This business of learning through knowing and trusting serves you in millions of ways. Suspend your doubt and fear and trust that things will work out. 7, italicized. Affirm that your intention creates your reality. Affirm that your intention creates your reality. Memorize and continually remind yourself, quote, my intention creates my reality. My intention creates my reality. Experience with intention as a way of creating miracles is probably an unfamiliar concept to you. Most of us have been raised to think of our desires, wishes, hopes, and fantasies as the seeds to our personal fulfillment. However, desires are stagnant. They do not set energy into motion. They do not create for you. Intention is the energy of your soul coming into contact with your physical reality. When you see what you see around you, whom you associate with, how you function daily, what your relationships are like, how much money you make, how you get along with others, the shape of your physical body, and virtually everything about the physical you is a result of your intention, or how your thoughts become energized into action. Becoming aware of your intentions will lead you to an awareness of your spiritual nature. Your intention may be synchronized with what you know to be your purpose, or it may be otherwise aligned. If you know your purpose is about giving, loving, and serving, whether in the field of education, parenting, law, or cab driving, then your intention will indeed follow. You very likely often find yourself surrounded by others with similar values. Your values and higher spiritual self reflect your intentions. Your values and higher spiritual self reflect your intentions. So you want to know what your values are. Know your top 10 values. Know your top 10 values. It's very important. It's the first step to self-development is to know your top. I'm talking off the book here. The first step to self-development is to know your top 10 values. In order, one being the most important. It took me like 6 years to basically finalize mine. I'm continually working on them. They're never going to be final because I'm always evolving, just like everybody. We're always evolving. We're continually evolving. And it took me like 6 years to get my values to a point where I feel like they're pretty good now. And that's the first step. Because that's the first step to your development, is to know what your values are and then live into your values. You don't know, you have to know what you want. You're never going to get what you want unless you know what you want. So the first step is to know what you want. And you do that by determining your values. We're all different. The only person who can figure out what your values are is you. You just write them down. When something comes to you, write it down. Make a note somehow, maybe in your phone or however your computer or however you want to do it. Make a note. You have to know your values. It's so important. It's the most important thing, is you have to know what your values are. I can't stress that enough. You have to know your values. You have to know your values. The first step to fulfillment is know your values. Okay, back to the book. You very likely often find yourself surrounded by others with similar values. Your intention may be synchronized with what you know to be your purpose, or it may be otherwise aligned. If you know your purpose is about giving, loving, and serving, whether in the field of education, where was I? Intention is let's go back to here. Intention is the energy of your soul coming into contact with your physical reality. What you see around you, whom you associate with, how you function daily, what your relationships are like, how much money you make, how you get along with others, the shape of your physical body, and virtually everything about the physical you is a result of your intention and how your thoughts become energized into action. Becoming aware of your intentions will lead you to an awareness of your spiritual nature. Your intention may be synchronized with what you know to be your purpose, or it may be otherwise aligned. If you know your purpose is about giving, loving, and serving, whether in the field of education, parenting, law, or cab driving, then your intention will indeed follow. You very likely often find yourself surrounded by others with similar values. Your values and higher spiritual self reflect your intentions. You view the world as a giving place. You are probably optimistic about people's abilities, about people's abilities to become less militant. You probably see the goodness in others, and you likely see a lot of people who want to be giving back to you. You experience much gratitude and are teaching others to be loving. The reverse is also true. If your intention is to get all that you can, you most likely encounter lots of greedy, power-hungry people. Your associates have a similar mindset, and you repeatedly convince yourself of the greed and shallowness of the world. Can you see how your own invisible intentions can create your reality? The secret to changing your life is in your intentions. Wishing, hoping, and goal setting cannot accomplish change without intention. What is needed is a shift from the inert energy of wanting to the active energy of doing and intention. Realize that all of your accomplishments, even those of which you are not so proud, have come about as a result of your intentions. Your relationships are a reflection of what you have created with your intentions. Your financial picture is the result of your intentions. When you know that you are in charge of your intentions, that they originate within you, then you will also come to know that you are in charge of your entire world and always have been. As you work toward a mindset of real magic, please keep this notion uppermost in your mind. Creating miracles in your life comes from your intention to do so, not from your wish or desire or goal. You must move from an inert to an active mode within your mind to establish an inner environment of real magic potential. Then, and only then, you will turn that same potential into your reality in the material world. Suggestion for implementing this mindset. Italicized. Rather than simply laying out goals or wishes for how you want your life to go, try shifting to the active language of intention. That's the end of the italics. And I want to add here that I think what Wayne Dyer means by the word intention is feeling. Your feelings. You have to feel it. What you feel in your heart is your intentions. What you feel in your heart is what Wayne Dyer means by the word intention. It's all about what you feel to be true for you. What do you feel in your heart that's true for you? Rather than simply laying out goals or wishes for how you want your life to go, try shifting to the active language of intention, feeling it in your heart. If you are ill, for example, try saying to yourself, I intend to heal myself of the illness. And feel in your heart, it's already done. It's already done. It's already done. Feel it in your heart. It's already done. You have to feel it. For real magic to work, you have to feel it in your heart. It's already done. Feel that it's already done in your heart. Back to the book. Quote, I intend to heal myself of this illness, rather than I wish it would go away, or I have set a goal to be free of this disease. The concept of intention, of applying action to your inner pleadings, will allow you to activate what needs to be done in order to complete the thought and make it a physical reality. Make a sharp distinction between what constitutes for you mere wishes and hoping, and what you are now in the process of intending to make happen by knowing that it's happening. I added that in there, by knowing that it's happening. When I intend to be a healthier, when I intend to be healthier and I know this is the case in my mind, I usually get right up and do some exercise. Even if it means simply walking around the block. The intention can literally put the thought into action. The intention can literally put the thought into action. That's the very stuff which constitutes miracles. 8, italicized. Experience, surrender, and satori. Surrendering is an act of the heart, an acceptance of what you have always vaguely sensed. Dot. This is an intelligent system I am a part of. Dot. This intelligence is invisible. Dot. This intelligence is also a part of me. Dot. I decide to trust in this intelligence. Surrendering is the equivalent of putting inspiration into your life. When you are inspired, you feel purposeful. When you trust in the invisible intelligence of the universe, you feel guided. Surrendering is the equivalent of putting inspiration into your life, is where I'll begin the next reading at the top of page 78.
The year now, as we know it on our planet, is 2025. There are now 8.1 billion people on Earth and growing. If you want good friends in your life, then be a good friend to good people more. If you keep telling yourself that you're faking it, then you're not gonna make it. Whatever you want more of, be that more. You're not a human faking or a human wanting. You're a human being. Your power comes from your decision to release it, because
your power comes from within you.
So decide to release it. That's all you have to do, is just decide
Release your power
decide
that's within
to
you.
release it.
Whatever you want, decide to release it. Your power comes
Real
from within
magic.
you.
Reading number 7.